Hey everybody, it's a Saturday morning in San Diego and a Saturday afternoon in the UK. And what I love about this beautiful, beautiful show, Conversations with Strangers, is that I'm talking to people all around the world. And it's so neat to just take a blank Zoom room. The Zoom room, let's face it, a Zoom room on its own has nothing. It just holds the space for two people to have a conversation in this time, in these crazy times where we can't see each other and hold each other and hug each other and talk to each other face to face. It gives the opportunity to simulate that. And so what I realized is, because I've had hundreds of these conversations now with people, is a Zoom room is just a background, it's a backdrop. But the people coming into the room give the room life. And in every single case, the life that this room has been given by the conversations that we've had has been really beautiful. Doesn't mean all the time it's been that interesting. Sometimes it's been a little bit boring, but very rarely has it been boring. Most of the time it's been really intriguing, some incredible conversations. And more than anything, what's really impressed me is how many people are just ready to speak real and honest and vulnerably to an imperfect stranger like myself. It's been such a beautiful, beautiful process to watch as people let go of who they're not and allow who they are to emerge. Let's face it, we walk around oftentimes pretty guarded and protected. We walk around creating a silo around us so we don't feel pain. My goal in this room is simply one thing. It's to love and accept people, to listen to people and have them feel heard, and to acknowledge and validate them for what they're saying. Before I go any further, I do want to mention that the show is being sponsored by the Mosaic. The Mosaic is a book I wrote about a boy who loses his parents 2 years apart on the same day. And when he asks the adults where his parents are, they tell him they're in a place called heaven. So he sets out on the road to find where heaven is. And the people he meets along the way are not the people you would imagine he would meet. They're not the clergy and the holy men and women and the medicine people and the Aborigines elders and the healers and the shamans and the gurus and blah, 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 blah. They're the trash man and the street artist, the homeless man and the blind woman. They're common, ordinary people. And he wonders, why am I meeting these people? Like, what are these people going to show me about heaven? But he realizes I'm here with them. Why don't I just sit and listen to them tell me their stories? And something magical happens when he hears their stories, because the person he thought they were vanishes. And he really discovers the people that they are. And they're totally different than who he first imagined. And when that happens to him over and over and over and over and over again, he starts to wonder, is there anything in the world that I see that is the way the world is? Or is everything polluted, sort of, really polluted by the way I believe it is? And at that point, he looks to his right and he sees a monk unzipping the sky and inviting him to walk into a parallel reality where he meets the wise one, who's the keeper of the Mosaic. And he's arranging all the pieces of the world so that this one meets this one has this opportunity, this one goes over there. Really interesting. And it's really what I'm doing in this room. Because when I finished the book told me go out on the road and do what Mo did, meet those people, go and have those conversations. I set it up and COVID came and took it away for a little while at least. So now I'm having them virtually from the comfort of my own living room. I don't have to travel anywhere. I don't have to go anywhere because these Zoom rooms make it magical. In short of this being a monologue, which it's certainly not meant to be, I want to bring the show to life now by bringing Miss Joawe Yang to the room. And Joawe, I want to thank you so much for being here with us. What an honor to have you. Tell us a little bit about who you are and how you are and what's important to you.
Thank you, Daniel. I'm happy that I'm part of this serendipity engineering process with you in this magical room. My name is Joey, and I'm currently a student, and I'm studying and living in London.
Wow. So I already like you because the serendipity, what was that? You said the serendipity
Engineering.
engineering. I already love the way your mind works. I mean, I love that terminology. What a beautiful thing to say. What did you imagine when you signed up? What did you imagine was going to happen in this room?
I would say it feels like a digital virtual sanctuary or a space where two people are having authentic conversation to co-create um, a back and forth conversation going to get to know each other, and then to also to show that by authentic listening and to show that we're present for each other, the world can actually be a better place with better communication and better understanding between human beings.
I love that. And do you believe that? Do you believe that if we were to sit and really have authentic conversation and really listen to each other, that we could really change the world?
Yes, I believe so because I find it sometimes language can be a very weak tool in terms of articulating what we truly want if we don't use it as a tool wisely. But if we truly boils it down to the very core element is to convey the message that we truly want to convey from the bottom of our hearts to each other, with understanding, with acceptance, then language can be such beautiful tool, not only tool but also even poem to yeah, to happen. So I do believe that by engineering even these serendipities in a virtual space, can at least we can show that these things happen, and better understanding, better communication arts can happen, still happen.
So here's what I love about this room for those of you who are listening. I know Joey all of about 18 seconds. I met her 5 seconds before, or 2 minutes before we came into this conversation in the green room. And her articulation of what the Mosaic is already so beautifully real and authentic. And not at all the way I would say it in the way I would say it, but the core of what she's saying is exactly what it is I'm trying to do. So let's go into it a little bit. How are you really doing? Look, when you look at the world, I just want to let me preface it because the easiest thing to ask is how are you, and people say great, good, fine, and we move on. But we're in the middle of a pandemic. Race riots, race protests are happening in America, but they're happening all around the world. People of color and different nationalities are standing up and saying we matter too. It's not just the white man that matters anymore. Or ever should have mattered only. We're people, we're human beings, we matter. We're in the middle of a Me Too movement that started a little while, has been pushed a little bit to the back, but not really, not by anybody who's a part of it, where women are standing up and saying, we're not going to be treated like that anymore. We deserve to come to the table and be seen as human beings like we are, not just things to be used. How are you really doing? Because even within all that, a lot of the structures that we have counted on to build our society around are falling apart. They're disintegrating because of lack of moral values, lack of things that are going on. How are you in this world?
That's a really great and sometimes can feel frustrating, that kind of question. So I'm that I always think that I'm that type of person who really see myself coded and so woven into the emotional wave in the society where there's something happen somewhere in the world, and I will feel this fluctuation in my mood constantly happening, and that sometimes gets my concentration away from my study or from my work. I just feel if there's something happen in the world and that is actually really relating to me and I feel so connected with what's happening. So with all the events that you have mentioned, um, during the quarantine, actually, it's a time and space where people are basically, for me, I was fiercely quarantining myself in my room. And then when you're in that sensory deprivation kind of situation, all the information that you consume become more and more enhanced. So I felt like all the BLM movement and the Lebanon accident happened and everything that happened in the world, the pandemic, every day, every time, it's like tightly connected to my emotion to the point where I obviously witness my emotional change over the time and kind of documented and journal, realizing that I am deeply connected to what's happening in the world, which is natural. There's no point to blame myself that I'm feeling overwhelmingly emotional with what's happening. It's very natural because we're all connected. And but also, it's also good to know that because we can feel that these feelings, and that means we can actually transform these feelings to actual actions by doing things. Um, and to, in a sense, we're all serving each other, we're all walking each other's home. Um, yeah, that's kind of what I felt. Definitely during this pandemic time, I felt there were times was overwhelming and very frustrating and scared, anxious as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You you already surprised me, and I wonder if the listener hears my surprise or is surprised also, because so often people find themselves in one place, not two places, and that place is dominated by the heart or dominated by the head. And the way you think is so smart and so intellectualized, and your mind is so sharp that as you were speaking, I was thinking, well, this person lives probably more from her head than her heart. But then when I asked you that question and you told me how affected you are by all the situations that go around you and how you feel everything, almost empathically, I'm assuming you're a bit of an empath, if not a large empath, that shifted, because I started to say, hold it, and she's got a brilliant mind, but she also feels the world around her. Where would you say you operate, head or heart?
I was very heart and more hearty. Is that the word that I created? Hearty, intuitive, because yeah, I tend to try to think not with the rational mind, but more of the intuitive mind. And sometimes when I use the intuitive sense, I make quicker decisions. That is actually absolutely to the point, and I don't have to test it out by rational thinking. And even by just utilizing the intuition, that actually works out quicker than I thought could have been. So that's surprised me all the time, and I kind of find a pattern already. So I trusted my gut more than I trusted my logical thinking, even though sometimes logical thinking it's really good. But yeah.
Where did you come from? Where did all that happen? How are you able to do that? Where did you learn that? Is this all self-taught? Do you follow some methodology or some religious practice or some teaching that helps you um, feel the things you feel or think the things you think?
I guess this topic has to go back to the time. So basically, I had 4 years of depression history, and going through that phase. When you were going through a phase of depression, basically, depression means a time and a space where you need deep rest. And during the resting phase, I actually took 1 year off from school and absolutely just trying to reconnect who I really am, because depression is, when depression happens, is really a waking call for me to realize that what I do and who I am, it was absolutely misaligned. But going through that phase teaches me a lesson that I should be listening to my gut feeling, to pay attention to my intuition, my heart, more than how the society trying to mold me into, or the societal discipline trying to restrain me into. And by doing that for the depression year, actually for 1 year, I realized that I became more and more, just more and more myself. And that feels, I finally find who I am. Um, and I was very lucky to have encountered a few people who are absolutely just giving me unconditional love. I was very surprised that I was so lucky enough to have met these people, and the sense of unconditional love and absolutely unconditional support helped me to understand the only way that you can find the truth is not to be eagerly or egoistically to follow the rational thinking or the logical path to trying to get there. Instead is to just be with yourself and be who you are and not trying to force it so much. You can nudge it for a little to the what you think as a positive trajectory, but in general, to stay aligned with who you are is the for now I think is the only way. Which goes back to the question that you ask, why I think I will listen to the intuitive thinking more than the rational thinking, because sometimes if you look at a lot of the engineered pattern or how the society work or how opportunities happen, they don't happen for no reason. They happen for a reason, and these reasons sometimes comes from people kind of just blinking and thinking, I think there's a spark. I think there's a sort of connection. I don't know why, but I felt it. And I think that is the point your heart is pointing to you, that you should pay attention to the underlying, under the surface of the thinking, rather than use your logical thinking to think, oh, do I actually have to spend my time and space to to go for this opportunity, or do I trust this person enough? When your heart, like a baby, knows the gut feeling the most. So if you're really trying to navigate to the baby or teenage state of mind, to really stay as who you are, to trust your gut more, I think decision not might not be as correct all the time, but at least it's very you. And I think I wanted to practice that more and more.
I love that. For the people that are listening, I just want to bring you into this discussion, and I want you to think about how very you are you. Are you you? Do you even know what you is? And I don't ask that in an accusatory way. I ask it in an inquisitive way. When you hear Joey speak of the year of depression, and when you hear the benefit that came from that year of depression, what do you feel? Is it possible that you're going through something in your life that also seems horrendous and terrible and really is knocking you off your feet? And at the same time, some years from now may be the best thing that happened to you, or give you insight into being an entirely different person than you are. And how aligned is what you do with who you think you are or who you actually are? Do you have any sense of that? One of the things the Mosaic said, I just finished reading and recording the book, so I did it in 2 days. And one of the things, the messages that comes through is, as the wise one is walking around, he meets with he stops and talks to individuals, and then he talks to the group, and then he talks to individuals. In this towards the end of the book, and he says, when we're connected, we're happy. When we're disconnected, we suffer. Be connected. Just that there's a connection that we're able to make to the world around us, to the world within us, to all of life, that when we connect and are aligned to what's real, there's nothing that can happen but happiness. But when we're disconnected, we go through the year of depression. So I really love what's coming through this conversation. Joey, what's important to you?
What's important to me, I guess, there are two omnipresent external elements, which are time and energy, and internal elements will be, I guess will be love.
No,
Yeah.
I love that. And so, how do those three, the two externals and the one internal, interact with one another? How does time and energy and love play together?
Right. So I wanted to start with time. Um, yeah, I have been contemplating on this concept called time quite a long time because I've always been a very time conscious person. Like I get very anxious and I'm a very time wise committed person. Whenever I realize this pattern that I have is that when I make a commitment with my friends, when they bail on me or they stood me up, I was very upset. And I felt that there's this huge commitment that I've put effort to make that happen. And when somebody doesn't do that, when somebody quit on me, and I felt I was disappointed. And so, so but then now I took one step back and to understand how we call time is actually such a manufactured human designed concept that is absolutely designed by human, invented by human, and we're using this concept to construct labor, to manage things to happen, to in order to narrative history stories happening in different parts of the world. Without the concept time invented, there's wouldn't be any round of civilization happening, and there wouldn't be anything like it to control, to manage will be such a difficult thing to happen at all. And now we're living in not only this linear narrative of time and space, but with the technologies, we can live in such dynamic time and space. So time to me becomes such a complex package of things that is intertwined with social interactions and even your burden, your past trauma with people. So now that we're thinking of time, I think it's good to take a step back to really think. Time is a range of time. Me as a carbon, hydrogen based being that can use in this lifespan to use this period of time to experience with this human perception of this planet called Earth. And using this period of time, which is already a gift, we should not feel so afraid of not that this time is so limited. When am I going to die? I might not be able to live so long, but instead treasure it, to cherish it as a gift that we already have, to use that wisely, with to do things that you think that are valuable, that really speak to you. That's how I think that we should value time. Um, and then speaking about energy, obviously, every day, every second, every even nanosecond, our brain cells or whatever body tissue cells are constantly growing and dying at the same time. So in that sense, we're every day we're dying and we're growing at the same time. So there's no such a sense as completely death, because we're actually embracing death every day, and it's just to that point that death is taking over of the liveliness, so that this being is kind of gone and fading away. That's when the whole energy is used up. So what I'm trying to do is to spend time and energy, channel that energy into the space and to the people and to the things that I want to do in a more conscious and wiser way, so that I can feel these energy and time are not spent against who I am. But in the same time, I'm doing that, I'm also not only myself happy, but also hopefully that I can make a difference in the world, so that that cohesively can manifest what we called as love. But obviously, everyone has different interpretation of love. But yeah.
Okay, a lot to unpack there. I love that. And for those of you who are listening, um, don't you miss being a student in college? I mean, it's just people in college, they just think differently. They talk differently. They like it's been a long time, and I'm just so enjoying being in the university of Joey's mind right now, because it's such a interesting way of communicating. I want to ask something that's clarity. It's not meant for it's in confrontation in any way. So if it feels confrontational, please tell me, and will move to another place. Has energy ever changed the scope of time for you?
Yes, absolutely. So to share with you one example. So recently, actually just past this past month, I've been trying to do a little bit of biohacking myself. So this concept really, I wanted to try this because I wanted to try this as an experiment for me to alienate myself from who I am. Basically, to create a social setting for me to feel absolutely sensory, like a sensory deprivation tank. So fiercely quarantining myself, and no social media, and no meat, even no food. Actually, I was living on this food supplement called Huel. So absolutely no joy to be spent on making food at all. So my energy will be solely dedicated to reading, writing. Currently, I'm working on my dissertation, only dedicating to this thing called academic work that the school is telling me to do. And when going through this phase, I realized one thing is that um, your my sense of my perception of time can be altered accordingly with my energy expenses onto the things. For example, if I'm doing something that is not completely not what I like, then this time will feel like a eternity that is eternity of suffering. But then if I'm doing something that I absolutely feel passionate about doing, then that just feels so nurturing, and so like multiple now all lines up and feels so in the flow. So I would say definitely the if you're spending your energy with things that you feel you are in love with, then time was just like a blink that you blink your eye and that's gonna be gone. But then the otherwise that just feel a whole suffering.
So, excuse me. I love that. And I know that people can relate to that, because when we are bored, time flies when you're having fun is a statement many people have made. Um, and when we are bored, or when we feel that we're not having fun, time seems to slow down, or it seems to take forever to get through something. But I'm asking a slightly different question. I'm asking, have you ever had the experience where those same seconds of time have just stopped, and time itself has actually stopped and paused, and the metric that we call time in the experience of energy has completely remorphosized itself? That the time that we experience when we are mass beings, of we are this body, or we are this, or we are sitting in this room, or daytime comes and nighttime comes, that when we are not in a world of matter and form, but we are actually in a world of energy. Have you ever experienced that world enough to see that time becomes a completely different commodity?
Yeah, I have been to a state, even though very short, but I have glimpses where time is such time just evaporates is not a concept in that world at all. It doesn't exist. It feels that world is constructed without the concept of time at all. It was pure energy and unconditional acceptance. Um, and human beings or my consciousness wouldn't be channeled into this physical form. And almost feels this body is so alien,
Yeah.
and that the body doesn't have to be my body, and that the consciousness can be just traveling through different medium. I can be a grass field, I can be a leaf, I can be anything. So this body is essentially just a container. It doesn't really matter in that very realm where time even doesn't exist at all. And I believe these state of being or understanding can be achieved. Usually, I would like to think that intense meditation or through reading, um, different kinds of religious practices, or with the use of psychedelics.
Yes.
Um, yeah, different paths. Different
Yeah.
people have different ways of achieving that.
And in the course of my life, I've been able to experience it through both of those places. And so I'm so interested to hear you speak of that. Years and years ago, I did a lot of psychedelics, and my conception of time and space and energy and love all completely changed as a door or a portal opened, and I was no longer in the portal that I was living in. And what I saw in those moments, and what I've seen afterwards in my practice of meditation, because I've meditated now every day for the last 45 years, sometimes 18 hours a day, sometimes 18 seconds a day. It's not really important anymore how long that practice is. It's just the practice is continual. Is that the corridors of time and space are really very different, and that there are parallel realities where different realities of this world exist simultaneously to the reality that we're living in. For those of you who are listening, and we took a left turn into the twilight zone here, enjoy the turn. If you don't enjoy it, you're welcome to turn it off. But I want to ask you also, as you're listening, to question your perception of what is real. And ask yourself, is it possible that I can attain a different set of experiences from a different parallel reality that's happening at exactly the same time in another space as the reality that I'm living in now? And can those experiences of that parallel reality come to help me shape this reality that I think is the reality that I live in all the time? So now, Joey, I love this conversation with you. As you understand, and first of all, what do you think about what I just said? Like, before I assume that you agree with me because of your nodding and smiling, that I assume that you agree, but I want to know, what do you think about what I just said?
I think it's very necessary for us to always constantly question what is reality, and yeah, what is reality? I sometimes think of, you know what? Um, I have this journal where I keep whatever I am able to lucid dream, or at least grasp certain elements from the dream that I happen to remember. I quickly write it down, and I realized that the very material that manifested in my lucid dreams were the material that I randomly just collected from daily lives. So basically, what we call reality, this very existence of reality, is like a factory or like a storage where we go in, visit, and to collect memory pieces, like mosaic, basically mosaic, that you collected these materials in order to, for you, as a result, to construct a dream. And if we think about dream as in fact the reality, then I think that will be such a relief to think that, well, I wanted to, obviously I wanted to have better dreams, to have tranquil and nice, peaceful, happy dreams. How do we do that? Maybe through every day going to real life, downloading to real life, and collecting materials that I feel I can I can use them to construct a happy dream for me, not only for me, but for people in my dream that manifest in my dream. In order to do that, you're gonna have to practice kindness and really do good things in this reality in order for that to come into to be uploaded to your dream. So constantly question what is reality, what is actual dream, and even shift that order. I think it's a good practice for the mind, for perception changing as well.
I love that. So with all that said, is time still as important to you as it used to be?
Oh, that actually brought me to a very recent question that my friends and I were talking about. Will I be happy or just feel at ease if I am told that I will be dead, I'll die tomorrow? And I think I became more and more at ease, accept death as a concept or as a pause to this physical life form. I just feel the fact that I am able to experience this world for the past 24 years with this carbon hydrogen based life form is already a gift. So it's not that I'm dying, but I have this gift of 24 years on this planet, to spend 24 years on this beautiful planet called Earth and have this human perception. And I think was a gift already. In that sense, time become a gift is not a concept that I feel I have to constantly grab on and to seize. In a sense, I wanted to quote this quote from the movie Boyhood. Something goes like, "We don't seize the time; time seizes us." And ultimately, we only thing that we can do is to surrender into time rather than seize it.
I love that. I love that. Two things came to my mind. I remembered a story of a Zen teacher who told his student he would die tomorrow. And the student freaked out and thought, oh my God, why would you tell me that? And when tomorrow came, it was today. So he still was alive because there was no tomorrow. Tomorrow was another day because when tomorrow comes, it becomes today. And the teacher wanted to teach him in a way that would gutturally affect his perception of reality and living in the now, that everybody will die tomorrow, but tomorrow never comes until it becomes today. So that was one place that I remember that I just wanted to talk to you about. And then I wanted to ask you, if someone were to tell you to die, you were to die tomorrow, not in the Zen story that I just told you, what do you think dies?
What do I think dies?
Yeah.
Whoa. I feel like that means this experience will be put on a pause, obviously. And actually, I would be concerned that the close ones, my friends, my family, will feel more in pain or suffer knowing that I'll be dying. But I don't think I'm the person who feel most in pain because in fact 2 years ago I have this episode where I have to go through a series of basically like what's it called, for cancer cell scanning,
Yeah.
biopsy. And I was told that at the time I was already carrying precancer cells, which can be progressing. And that was the first time that I know that I can be so close to cancer already, being at 20, 21 years old, which is really young. And I thought to myself that, wow, like that was actually a day where I feel absolutely at peace. And at the time, I didn't share it with my parents. I just kind of just having multiple flashbacks in my head, feeling very grateful that I have lived at least for 21 years. And if I die, let me just trust this ecosystem, this medical health system in China when I was in China. I'm just not going to trust everything. I'm just going to spend my remaining day, I thought remaining day, with the people who I love, and then enjoy the very last moments. And I was very lucky at the time that the precancer cells wasn't progressing as progressively. So now that we can be here having this conversation, but that thing kind of teaches me that we should be always preparing ourselves for death, because it happens, and it sometimes happens accidentally. So take it as not as a burden, or not as like a threat to feel, oh, that is constantly weighing on me, but as a lesson, as an art to practice. How am I wanted to die? How am I wanted to end this life? How am I going to share this news wisely with the people who care about me? Yeah. So I don't think I answered your question, which is what actually dies. I guess what actually dies is for the people who is overly trying to hold on to life. That part of anxiety and the like super willpower to trying to live, that will be crushed, and that feels very sad because you wanted to live. But then, in fact, if you are at ease with the fact that a life will be evaporated one day, and that you will surrender and you trust the system, the earth, then you become more at ease with the life going away.
I would love you to read the Mosaic if you get a chance. It's available on Amazon. I would love for you to read it, because I would love to see what your mind and your heart experience when you read it. One of the things that is the underlying current of the Mosaic is it starts with most fathers dying. And moments after he dies, he appears to him in form. But Mo can't run up to him and hug him like he normally does, because it's not his body, but it's he just sees him. He sees him there, but it's an energy form that's there. And when I asked you what dies, what I'm really interested in knowing is, can I share a very personal experience with you?
Yes, of course.
My wife had the most horrible death from cancer that you could ever imagine. She got breast cancer, and then lived with it for 5 years. And then the last 2.5 years of her life, she was in blood-curdling, screaming pain for 45 minutes, every 45 minutes. So 45 minutes of pain on, 45 minutes of pain off. You could make appointments by it. It was so exact. And it went all day and all night. And when she finally released herself from her body, that body, which was riddled with pain, but was flexible and it could bend and move, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, an hour later, I can't exactly remember the length of time because I wasn't thinking about time. I just remember trying to bend her arm so that she would lay in peace more comfortably, but her arm wouldn't bend. It was stiff. Rigor mortis had set in. Her body would not move or bend anymore. And it made me realize that what actually died, all that actually died was the form of her, because I could feel her so completely speaking to me, talking to me as if she was right next to me, but without this form of the body. Do you believe that when we die, we don't die, but our form dies, but who we are continues? Or do you believe we die when we die?
I actually recently have been thinking about it. It started from a joke when my friend and we started to joke about, should we establish a system where we should ask for consent, with where consciousness started to evolve from an embryo. The parents should ask the kid, or the consciousness, or the embryo, or whatever, wherever the consciousness started to evolve, that do you decide to live this life in a human form, or do you decide to be okay for us to upload you on like a fourth dimensional whatever space. So you only live in that space with that consciousness without having a human form at all. So that it's going to help you to, avoid all the physical pain that you are possibly being, like breast cancer and all that human suffering. Um, and we come to this conclusion that if that can be made real, then perhaps we already have multiple millions of these consciousness little cells over there already. They're living in these fourth or even multi-dimensional realms, and then they just haven't or didn't decide or didn't give their consent to enter actual physical entities. But us are the ones that didn't kind of sign the consent the form, but already been decided by our parents that they wanted to put us as consciousness, but into human forms, which is which something that makes who we are now. So we kind of just believe that. Yeah, so we are the very form of who we are is the consciousness, and body form is very limited forms of being here, and there can be different mediums to contain the consciousness as vessels.
And do you perceive the possibility that you don't have to make an either or choice? Because like you said earlier, there were moments either through psychedelics or meditation where you felt like you were not only this body, but you were the blades of grass or the wind blowing through the trees or the little child. Do you perceive the possibility that all that it takes is to open up to the possibility that we're not contained by the body that contains us, but we are the energy that runs through this body that contains us, and that we can experience the presence of another human being? This is something I'm doing right now. I'm having intimate experiences with people I've never met, that I've only chatted with. And we can actually feel each other's presence as if we were sitting right next to each other, or if we were lying down next to each other and holding each other. We can actually feel the actual presence of that person, and we've never even met them, we've never even seen them, we've never even spoken to them, we've never even talked to them. We've just opened up a conversation through a chat box. What I want to invite the listener to understand is one of the biggest concepts the Mosaic talks about. Nothing is as it seems. What would happen if everything you believed was just that? Everything you believe doesn't mean it's real. What would happen if the way you see the world is just that? Just the way you see the world, but not the way the world is. What would happen if the more you change the way you saw the world you saw changes? What would happen if you opened up your perception of what is happening to allow something more than you ever dreamed possible to happen? How would that affect your intimate relationships? How would that affect your ability to make money? How would that increase your ability to have joy in your life? Interesting questions to at least think about, right? Joey, I want to go into your heart now, because I feel like I've been in your head a long time. I want you to tell me what really makes you happy. But I want you to answer. Do me a favor. I want you to shift your answer from that your brilliant head of yours, which is brilliant. And I could talk to your head. I could live in your head all day. But I want you to come now into your heart and answer me from your heart. What makes you really happy?
What makes me happy is that when I see people are themselves and people are
So
genuinely happy.
time out. I'm going to push you a little bit. Where are you answering from, your head or your heart? That smile tells me you're in your heart right now. And the answer sounded like it was still coming from your head. Your head is so brilliant that you allow yourself to answer from that space in your head of your brilliance. But you have a heart that is so big. You have a heart that so wants to come out. You have a heart that has such a capacity to love and be loved. And I want people to feel that heart too, because we've already felt your brilliance. That place right there. Do you feel the shift that happens when you just did what you did there? When you got to that little smile right there? Did you feel that shift of your energy?
Yeah.
I want you to come from there and talk to me in the time that we have left.
What makes me happy? Um,
Stay in
I
your heart.
have where I feel absolutely just pure happiness was when um it was massive nowness and newness where I am so absolutely present with the moment, not worrying anything at all, but just allowing myself to be.
Time out.
Also,
Do you hear as soon as I said time out, you went back to your heart? I want you to, when you see the video of this,
yeah,
to watch it show
sure.
up on your face. And like this place that you're in right now when you're not speaking, tell it to me without words if you can. Somehow in going to words, you go into the space where you go into your mind to explain it rather than to help me feel it.
I did. Yes, I did. Yeah, I was kind of having this imagery in my head.
Yeah. Tell me about that imagery without going into your mind to tell me. Tell me from your, like what I want to do is I want to feel that beautiful heart just unpacked. I want to feel the walls around it let go. I want to just feel it flow into this room and let people feel it because it is exquisite. And it's so much more beautiful than your beautiful mind.
Mm. And that happy moment, different ones. Well, I'm trying to um what makes me happy is that kind of is a beautiful face from someone that I truly loved. And that combination of all kinds of chemistry that is going on in my body, that feeling that I just want that person to deserve all the love from the world. That is the moment that I feel really, really happy. Not only about me, but also about this person, that the fact this person happens on this world at all. And I also have other feelings where I was just laying down on the grass and then hearing um, music from afar. People are dancing, kids are running around, and even though I'm very far from them, but I know that they are enjoying a good time. And then I'm just so happy for them to have that. And knowing that they're having fun makes me most happy.
I,
Yeah.
I, I love I love what you just did, and I hope the listener. I keep saying reader because I'm involved in the book from reading the book. I hope that the listener can feel what I feel. Can you feel the difference of how you just answered?
Yeah, kind of. Because when you're talking about happiness, it's a um I sometimes tend to go to the neuroscience or the physical
Yeah,
aspect of it, which can be very, very sounds very logical or rational. Um, it changes your blood, like it changes your neurotic, like your neurotransmitter. It really changes the way that your body functions.
yeah.
Like
You
your
just
whole
changed again.
is changed.
You changed.
And
You changed. Pardon me. You changed again. When you were talking about laying in that field, when you were talking about seeing the face of someone you love, your whole demeanor was different. The space that you came from was different. When you went into the biochemistry of what happens when you feel happy, you changed again. And so I just want you to feel how real that feeling of Joey's heart is, and how relegated it gets to a secondary place, at least in this conversation. I don't know how it is in normal day to day, because I bet when she's with somebody who she sees that face, that part comes out again. But I would guess that her reliance on the brilliance of her mind, because she feels safer there, is stronger than her reliance on the absolute exquisiteness of her heart, which has maybe brought some pain. My guess, I'm lobbing that over the net. Would that be true?
Say that again?
Is it true that your heart can take a secondary place to the brilliance of your mind, and that your mind, you feel very comfortable there because you know how brilliant you are, and you can navigate your way through any conversation and not feel hurt, versus the innocence of your heart and the exquisiteness of your heart, that when it's open and vulnerable can get hurt more easily, and so it's a little more protected by the brilliance of your mind. Would you say that that's an experience that's true for you?
Yeah, I would say that used to be true, and which is why I try to experiment a bit more, to let go of the rational mind, which is a space where I usually feel more secured
Yeah.
with.
If
Yeah.
you were to take, I want to be sensitive to your time. By the way, I want to tell you how much I adore you, and how much I love this conversation, and how happy I am that you came into this room and shared yourself with me. It just feels, I feel so happy to know you. And I feel so happy to know that the future is in hands such as yours, because it gives me hope for what the world will look like with the brilliance of people like yourself coming to inherit it. What I'd like to ask you to do in the last couple of minutes is I'd like to ask you a favor. And I would like for you to share with the people that are listening what it is you want them to feel as they move into the next part of their lives. Not what is it you want them to think, but what is it you want them to feel. And I would love to have these next 2 minutes come from your heart to the heart of the listener. It's yours.
I would say to create a space for you to feel that you are most comfortable, not only comfortable, but validated, reassured, supported unconditionally all the time, which can be hard to achieve this state or this place, but you can create that, mold that, influence that, stir the algorithm pool by utilizing or manifest more of what your heart wants. And the more that you're closer to have the intuitive side coming forward, and I guess that'll at least help to be closer to that space where you can feel absolutely comfortable and safe, and where you can surrender into. And that is the place that I guess where yeah, it's absolutely beautiful blissfulness and unconditional love is. And once you have that, once you have a glimpse of that, that become part of you, and you always question and you always wanted to revisit that state of being, and you wanted to recreate that energy or engineer that ambience for other people as well by having an authentic conversation, by building beautiful businesses, by helping people, by showing kindness. We're constantly co-creating an ambience or an ecosystem for each other so that we can feel safer and secured and happy and loved.
I love that. If people want to get in touch with you, we're going to have all your social media links. And I don't even know if you have a website. If you have a website, we'll have that information as well. How would be the best way for them to get in touch with you to sort of further conversation, to get to know you more, to invite you in to help them grow what they're growing and do what they're doing, if that's even something you want? How would they get in touch with you?
I will have a link tree so people can get in touch with me through my Linktree links.
Perfect. Perfect. Joey, I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for the time you spent, for the brilliance of our conversation. I think we've blown some people's minds here today, and I hope that we have. For the listeners that listen, I want to say what a beautiful opportunity this was to think and see a world that you may not normally see, to challenge yourself to go to places where you don't normally go in a world that you think is pretty much the way you see it all the time. I want to ask you what the Mosaic asks of Mo in every conversation he had with the people that he met. What if what I see is not what's real? What would that world look like? What if people are different than I think they are? What if the business that I'm working in is different than I think it is? What if the person I fall in love with is different than the person that I see? What if the very air that I breathe and the environment that I live in is different than what I think it is? What would that open up for you if you were to slide yourself to the left and see the world without your vision of it, but to see the world the way it actually is, not the way that you see the world to be? What would that world look like? What opportunities might be in front of you that you didn't see because you block them with the way you view the world? What might be sitting there waiting for you to receive it if you only got out of your own way to have it? I want to thank you for listening again, for showing up to the show, for being here with us. If you like this conversation, please share it with people you like. That's what we do as human beings. We like something and we tell people we like about it. So if you like this, share it with someone you like. If not, just keep it to yourself. It's fine by me either way. It's not like I'm trying to grow this. But can you see the beauty of what happened in this room? I didn't know Joey at all before we met. Look at the depth, look at the beauty, look at the conversation, look at the enlightenment of what happened from just having a conversation together and the way it can change the way we perceive. Why rob yourself of those opportunities? I want to challenge each of you to do what I just did. To invite a stranger to come into your life for a few moments, an hour, half an hour, 45 minutes, 10 minutes, doesn't matter. By just asking them, how are you? That's how the whole conversation started. Just how are you amidst all the things that are going on, and just listen to the response. Joey was a stranger when she walked into this room. She leaves this room as my friend. When we live in a world of strangers, the world is a strange place. When we live in a world of friends, the world's a friendly place. We need this world to be a friendlier place than it is. Why not do it one person at a time by talking to someone you don't know? Joey, is there one last thing you want to say before we go?
I hope that everyone have a great day. As simple as that.
I love it. Okay. Everybody, thank you so much for being here. As Joey says, have a great day and continue to have great days. And what an honor for you to have given us the most valuable gift you have, which is your time. We value it. We honor you. And until the next stranger walks into this room, be kind to each other. Be curious with each other. Be kind to yourself and curious with yourself. Don't be a stranger even to yourself. And go up to someone you don't know and make them your friend, or invite them to be your friend. Until the next one, stay connected, be happy, be kind. We'll see you on the other side in the next Zoom room call. Thank you.